We're so thankful and honored to have you with us. Hey, I'm really inspired by the amount of people that are joining us today, more than 2,000 people. And actually, I'm much more inspired by the drive that the private sector is bringing to climate action. Just yesterday, we learned that almost 2,000 companies globally committed to net zero targets, forming almost 70% of global economy. And guess what? Many of those companies are here with us today, and that's really an amazing platform to accelerate the CO2 removal industry. Now, with that, let's start. Let's start by welcoming a new member to the CO2 removal industry. Let's welcome Orca. Orca became active last week. Who is Orca? Orca is the world's largest direct air capture and storage plant. You could also call it a climate time machine, thanks to a dinner partner I had last week who called it like that. Now, why is Orca relevant? Every molecule of CO2 that Orca is taking from the atmosphere and providing it for permanent underground storage will not contribute to global warming tomorrow. This is immediate and real climate action. As much as this is unique, it needs to be scaled massively. And that's the second very relevant aspect about Orca. It is the most secure and advanced platform to scale direct air capture. You have to imagine, we are operating Orca day in and day out. And based on those learnings, based on those operations, we're learning. And with those learnings, we can scale. Now, since many of you, or probably many of you, haven't been with us last week, let me share a little anecdote. Actually, it happened that last week, for the first time, I saw this plant, thanks to COVID. It was an amazing moment to see that plant. Like, Jan and I were doing that for 14 years. It was amazing to see to go from milligrams to 4,000 tons per year capacity. But there was one moment, and we can't hide, we are engineers, that was even more fascinating. It was after the event was over. Jan and I went inside the plant to the control room, and the engineers turned the plant on, and we looked to a screen, to the control room screen, where we can see the CO2 flow sensor measuring how much CO2 Orca is sending to storage. And we were very excited to see a number. And we wanted to share this excitement with you. So just yesterday, we called our colleagues in Iceland who are operating the plant now and asked them, hey, please send us a picture of this control room to be shared with you. And here it is. Yesterday, Orca was sending more than 300 kilograms per hour to final storage. That was an amazing feeling for Jan and I to see, and I hope you find it as fascinating. Jan offered some perspective how to make kilograms tangible. Kilograms or tons of CO2 are not that tangible. Let me offer you another perspective on that. Orca is removing the unavoidable emissions of 10 to 20,000 electric vehicles from the road, from a stock of 10 to 20,000 electric vehicles. Now, based on operating Orca, and based on very concrete scale-up steps that we're already having today, that half of our company is already working on, we're very confident that we can crack megaton capacity in the second half of this decade. And that, in turn, will be a launchpad to reach gigaton capacity by 2050. And this is precisely what climate science asks us to do, and asks, of course, many others to do. Yesterday, Jan gave an insight how Orca works. Maybe some of you haven't been there, so let's cover it very briefly. Essentially, we're building plants, modular plants, that are featuring fans. Those fans take in atmospheric air and release again the air. And inside, magic happens. Inside the modules, we have a solid filter material that has an affinity to CO2. Now, the CO2 in the air, so to say, sticks on the surface of this filter, and once it's saturated, we heat those boxes to the boiling point of water, 100 degrees Celsius to 12 Fahrenheit, and thereby the CO2 is released again as a pure gas. And in Iceland, where we're operating Orca, we're providing that CO2 to our storage partner called Carbfix, that they're first mixing the CO2 with water they're getting from the ground, and then pumping the mixture underground in one of those domes, as you can see it here in the middle. Now, in the underground, something very special happens. The underground of Iceland is made up of a rock called basalt. And And this rock, again, has an affinity to CO2. So now if this rock is surrounded by CO2, it mineralizes the CO2 on its surface. Or in very simple words, we are turning CO2 into stone. To the right, you can see an image of a drilling core where the black and grayish parts are the pristine original rock, and the white parts are the mineralized CO2. Very often we are asked, can this only be done in Iceland? The clear answer is no. However, note, we are very committed to Iceland. Iceland is an excellent, promising site, offering a lot of potential. We could store more than humanity has emitted to date in Iceland only. The storage potential is almost unlimited. What will be limited at one point is the energy. And in such, we are spreading out on the planet, and we're going to sites where we have abundant renewable energies available. A partnership we're having with a company in Oman called Protostar, or the brand 4401. In Oman, we are also exploring CO2 mineralization. Another partnership to mention is a partnership in Norway with a very big Northern Light network, where we also investigate to store CO2 there. Now, what is that we have to offer for you? First, let's clarify our business model. Our business model is to own or co-own facilities as the one you've seen, Orca, right? We're operating this plant, and then we're selling the services on the market. Who is the market at the moment? The market is you and I, people, as well as corporates. Now, the offering that we're having for you and I is a digital offering. You can find it on our website. You can pick your plan, ranging from as low as $7 per month, going up to several $1,000s per month, depending on your lifestyle and your abilities. And with that Climeworks subscription, you will be able to remove the unavoidable emissions of your life, be it your diet, be it your electric vehicle, or be it the flight you really cannot avoid. We are very proud that we assembled more than 8,500 people in this model, and this really starts a movement. The most prominent person who is using that service is Bill Gates. We have a similar offering to corporates. We offer corporates the possibility to remove unavoidable emissions or to do climate restoration, to become carbon negative. Now, why should a company work together with us? Just briefly, permanence. This is among the most permanent, if not the most permanent way of removing CO2 from the air. You don't have to bother about whether the CO2 is coming out of the ground at any point. The CO2 will remain stone, even in many thousands or millions of years. It's actually a natural process. This is not something engineered we're doing. It's resembling a natural process. Yesterday, we learned that minerals are the largest CO2 sinks on the planet. So minerals will do that anyway. We're simply accelerating it by a compact direct air capture machine and by providing the CO2 underground. It's measurable. Recall the exciting flow sensor I shared with you. We know exactly how much CO2 we take from the air, and we provide for underground storage. Immediate is an important thing. We were in previous Q&A, we were discussing whether it takes too long to plan things. Climate action with technology is immediate. Like within years, we're taking CO2 from the air and providing it for underground storage. It's highly effective. The life cycle emissions of what we are doing are 10%, meaning that for 1,000 kilograms of CO2 we're taking from the air, 100 kilograms are re-emitted. Or, in other words, if you contract us to remove 1 ton of CO2 from the air, we are actually capturing 1.1 tons and putting 1.1 tons underground, in such that you're receiving net 1 ton of carbon removal. And finally, among tech solutions, it's currently the only certified option out there, certified by a third party. Well, as Peter, I'm extremely thankful to early pioneers in the corporate world, Stripe, Shopify, The Economist Group, Microsoft, Swiss Re, Audi, who are all acting to move this forward. Actually, all those companies were joined by more than 80 corporates for Climeworks, and that led to that Orca is almost completely contracted. Now, this is why a large share of the company is already working on the scale-up, and we invite you to discuss with us if you want to make this CO2 removal part of your strategy today, because I don't want to be in a situation where in 2 years down the road we will be again on stage and have to tell you that large share of the capacity is already contracted. With that, I hope I was able to inspire you on our journey to inspire 1 billion people to remove CO2 from the air. Thank you.